Good morning. Welcome to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook, the New Mexico Network. I'm Ed Nunez, along with producer Arlene Iwani. Our special guest today is Farmington head football coach Jeff Dalton, the number one seed in 4A. Coach, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us. That's 5A, but
5A, sorry about that. I lose my classes from all these shows we did this weekend. So number one seed in 5A.
Well, we changed so much we can't keep track of where we are either. So appreciate you having us.
Coach, you know what? The Scorpions 10-0, 4-0 in district. I did some stats on your team. Offensively, you're averaging 48.8 points per game, and defensively, giving up 4.5 points per game. And we had you last spring at the University Stadium. We did a game, I believe you played Mayfield.
Yep.
And run and gun, man. I think the way I was impressed with the speed of the offense and the tempo, and it's hard to get personnel in and out. I thought you did a great job of that. We knew coming into this season, Farmington was going to be, heck to be dealt with, man, or hell to be dealt with, and it's proven true. Your defense has pitched 6 shutouts defensively. Tell us a little bit about the Scorps, the number one seed in 5A.
Well, we like that people love to talk about our offense and the points, and I'll tell you what, it's fun, and we like to play fast and keep it simple and move the ball. But this thing this year's it started with the defense. They set the tone, and we struggled a little bit early, even though it didn't really show on the scoreboard. But what you don't see on the scoreboard is that we're getting 20, 30-yard fields some of the time, and our defensive staff has just done a great job of having those guys ready. That's really where we had the most kids come back from last year. We lost a lot of offensive players after the short season last spring, and but the main guys, the heart of the team that we got back were guys on defense, and they're leaders, and they started carrying that thing earlier in the season, and gave the offense a little bit of time to catch up. So, and we did, the offense did catch up. We're starting to move the ball fast again, and being productive and efficient.
What you mentioned, that COVID season last year, shortened season for everyone. But I thought, again, Mayfield's a good team. That day at University Stadium, they got 2 running backs, and they're going to give you, their ground and pound. It's coming. Sometimes you can't stop it. But I thought that day it was tough to keep your offense off of the field. The defense doesn't have a lot of time to change personnels before you're at the line of scrimmage. And that stuff there has to be executed and coordinated to a T, right? Because you got guys coming in, setting up for the play. You got to get the play in. Everybody's got to be in sync on that. I was impressed by the speed of the offense. And we'll get to your defense, because, again, when you have short fields to work with like that, Coach, your quarterback, Furby, has an incredible 127.9 quarterback rating. He's had a great season, no question. But those short fields you mentioned, they certainly help an offense. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It takes a lot of commitment from these kids to show up every day. If you miss a day, that we don't get to run our offense as fast if a receiver misses a day or something like that. So it takes a lot of commitment in the summer, in the off season, and kids understanding that we're going to keep things simple and move fast. And it takes a lot of commitment to get good sleep at night and get in shape and all these things that people don't think about. They think you can just kind of get up on the line of scrimmage, and why doesn't every team do that? But it's tough. I'll be completely honest with you. One of the reasons I do it is, I've been running the offense for a few years here, and I'm not as smart as some of the defensive coordinators. So we figured if we can keep them from, not changing personnel too much and not figuring out what we're doing, and by the time they know what we're doing, the ball's already snapped anyway, that we can get some stuff off, and we kind of committed to that. And sometimes it's even more impressive that the defense is doing what they're doing, because sometimes we're giving them, we'll play 2 or 3 plays and they're right back on the field. So they have short breaks, and they're getting a lot of snaps during games.
You mentioned that everybody with you've been there 7th season as the head football coach, 50-23 record as a head coach, impressive. 2013, the defensive coordinator on the state championship under Gary Bradley, and was that at where was that, at Farmington?
Yeah, that was at Farmington. We played
Talk
got
about
there in the state championship.
so talk a little bit about what again. That's Farmington's got a long history, coach. You're well aware of that. Are you a Farmington graduate there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, one.
Yes, you go back with Wayne Ward, Rob Robbins. There's been some great Farmington athletes, Jim Long, that have come out of Farmington. Farmington's got a great reputation as far as winning sports. Talk about a little bit about the defensive coordinator under Coach Bradley. You won a state championship there in 13. What did you learn under him as far as what you're implementing today as the head coach of Farmington?
Well, I'll tell you one thing about Farmington football in particular is we feel like we've historically had a lot of solid teams, but didn't make a lot of noise in the playoffs when it came time to play the Artesias and the Roswells and the teams down south. And I think one thing that Coach Bradley did when he came up here is kind of helped us break the mold of what Southern football teams do and what commitment looks like down there, closer to the Texas border, because he came from Mayfield under his dad, and and it was all about culture and work, and some of those things we hadn't tasted in northern New Mexico, and I think he brought a little bit of that culture here. And if he runs a different style of offense, and we've changed some of that, but one thing that remains is the commitment, the expectation of commitment, and learning how to play physical. Even if you're running a spread offense, and people are gonna by nature think that you're a softer team, and they get a little bit surprised when one of those receivers pops them and drives them on a run play or something. But I think that's the one big thing that I learned when he came up here, and I sure appreciate him. He molded me and brought me up, and really a lot of the coaching staff that we still have was here when he was here, and we all got to learn from that style.
Well, it's funny you talk about Jim Bradley. You mentioned Gary Bradley, Mike Bradley. Back in the day, Jim Bradley would the head coach of Las Cruces Mayfield would tell Albuquerque schools, this is how it's done. This is how we play football in the South. The needler would always needle the North. I used to laugh when I'd read the paper. He'd let you, if you want, he's going to let you know. We're the champs. You're not. We're a little bit tougher than you are. I used to read it like, wow, who does this dude think he is, man? It made me laugh, though. It did, because you know what? He won. He could say those things, man. And maybe he rubbed some people the wrong way. Too bad. That's the way he looked at it. If my team is better, my team is more physical than yours. And that's what he said, right? He would say that teams down south, we play a little tougher than they do up there in Albuquerque. I remember reading all those quotes, man. I would laugh.
Oh yeah.
But look at the tree, the trees that he sprung up, right? Coach Gary Bradley, Coach Mike Bradley, still there at Mayfield. So the tree of coaching, you're a product of that a little bit yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think
so was Coach Ennington in Las Lunas,
Yeah, so we had him on a couple of weeks ago, and I really admire that. Boy, that would be quite a clash. That's down the line, though. We have to take it one game at a time. Right. Although it's hard not to look ahead because we're fans and we'd love to see that. But hey, things have happened in any bracket sometimes that surprise people, and there's a road to it. It's pockmarked with a road to the championship. Is pockmarked with things we don't expect. But yeah. I'll tell you, if you look at it right now, the Scorps are rolling, right? From your point of view, and as far as the coach, you're undefeated. And I'm going to roll off the scores here. Over Roswell, 42-6. Roswell's played better towards the latter part of the year. They've got a great program, right?
Oh yeah.
Over Berlin, 53-13. Highland, 53-0. Aztec, 54-0. Durango, a little bit of a challenge there, 38-17. Blank del Norte, 50-0. Los Alamos, 54-0. Miyamura, 56-0. Capital, 55-0. And then Piedra Vista, your last game, 33-9. Does it concern you at all? Now, the challenge you got, it was a good one from Durango. In that game there, it was a closer game. I think I remember reading about that. But does it concern you at all going into the playoffs? Maybe, hey, my team hasn't been tested or challenged enough.
Well, that's an every year thing up here. We traditionally don't have a district where we're gonna battle it out like an Eddy County would have to. Artesia, Roswell, Goddard, they have that luxury, but at the same time they're beating the heck out of each other every week. And so we try to find that balance a little bit. And I think a good coach is gonna find the best in any situation they're given, and that's exactly what we try to do. So, mid-season when we understood that, we knew Durango's perennially really good, and they're really physical, and that's kind of like playing a Southern New Mexico team. And that was really good for us. And, we got to play a physical Belen team, and Roswell, they didn't really have it together yet, but they still hit and they still played hard. So we got a little bit of good experience, but the one thing that we have to do is we have to have great practices. We have to go against, we have to put our number one defense against our offense all the time, because that's the level we're going to see in the playoffs. Fortunately we have enough kids right now that we can do that, and we can put our ones against our ones. And we've done that a lot to kind of nullify the fact that maybe we're not getting as many looks as we need in a game. So we're going to make sure we make practice really competitive every single day.
You mentioned that about the looks in the game, and Belen, that was a short game. Highland, a short game. Aztec, a short game. Del Norte, a short game. Los Alamos, a short game. Miyamura, a short game. Capital, a short game. Those games ended, right? They ended before. So I think that's a point well taken. Because you didn't get the snaps. Somebody didn't get a chance to maybe play as much as they normally do because the game was shortened. So you're saying that in practice, ones against ones, gosh, think about how loaded your team is on both sides of scrimmage. We say that about Rio Rancho and Cleveland in 6A, right? Mm-hmm. I think La Cueva's right there, but Rio Rancho and Cleveland are at the top of that food chain in 6A, I believe, complete roster-wise. So if you're saying you're having those kind of practices, that kind of tells me a lot about the makeup of your roster top to bottom.
Yeah, we tend to play 25 to 30 kids a game. And we don't have any two-way starters. So, and one of the reasons that we insisted on building it that way was because we know that some weeks we're our biggest opponent, and as well as our defense is playing. I mean, there's weeks, Ed, where we don't even know if our game plan is going to work because we can't move the ball on our own defense. And then it clicks and it's good. And we have a little more time than we did in practice. And so that's what we shoot for. We want to make practice a little bit tougher, a little bit faster than we think the game will be. And so that's how we have to set it up because you're absolutely right. If we just rely on game experience, we're gonna be behind. So we've had to find ways to stay up on the curve with the teams we know that are being constantly tested.
Tell you what, it's a good problem to have. I think any coach would say, yeah, we want to have that. We're undefeated. If you look down the schedule, again, a challenge is coming. That as coaches, right? We look forward to it. We just don't know when it's going to happen. But all things considered, your team has played very well and are in a good position with the number one seed in 5A. We're going to take a break and talk more to Farmington head football coach Jeff Dalton after these messages on the Sports Desk.
Gets it over for West Mesa. Scheller, and that's a point. Great rally that time. We got a first tip for La Cueva after they hold on downs at the Manzano 32-yard line. Armenta straight over the middle, and La Cueva immediately scores.
Booming shot towards the back post and tucked in. Neal will take the snap. Clean pocket. He steps up into it and he'll throw it into an interception. Streaking down the field, the Cougars come alive and put 6 on the board. It's Evan Ferguson.
Tries to bend it, going right at goal, it's there, in! Find it, right there. Pretty, here comes some pressure, he's able to dump it off to Vigil.
Behill gets up to speed. Behill cutting back. Behill still on his feet. Oh, hail the king for the touchdown.
They're going to give it to him.
Keeper will boot that one long. Here's a chance for Belen. Oh, man. Here it is. Belen, first goal of the game belongs to the Eagles. What a play, and you know who gets the assist on that one is the goalkeeper.
Step up by Reed, who's done that a couple of times tonight. But Trujillo's able to shed and puts it back into space. Bynum's there. It's a race, and that one's going to dribble in. Bynum with a brace.
Chavez and Lopez, they have been a poke duo all season. Chavez stands in the pocket. He's got plenty of time, but he keeps going backwards. He's looking for Lopez over the top, and he gets him. So,
For Fabiano Valdez.
Exactly.
Pascal Bell looking deep. And it is incomplete. It ended up falling at the feet of Tristan Cordova. There's an injured player on the field. No. That got picked.
Outstanding play.
Watch the end of this play. So the ball pops up, then off a shoulder, off a leg, and intercepted.
The energy landscape is limitless and ever-changing. Cleaner energy resources are crucial to New Mexico's environment. For 100 years, PNM has utilized cutting-edge technology and employed hard-working New Mexicans to ensure that we have consistent, reliable energy when we need it. For life's loudest moments, quietest moments, and every moment in between. We're dedicated to providing you with energy now and into the future. All you have to do is dream of what to do with it next.
A burglary takes place in the United States approximately every 15 seconds. International Protective Service is your answer for commercial and residential security in all of Albuquerque. IPS will work with your monitoring company for fast, reliable response times. You can rest easy knowing you, your family, or your company is watched over by International Protective Service. Call International Protective Service today.
Back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook and on the New Mexico Sports Network. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with producer Alden Iwani. We've got Jeff Dalton, the Farmington head coach, the #1 seed in 5A. And I could know, Coach, it's like, you know, when it's said and done, it comes up on the screen. It's like, hey, we're the #1 seed, right? And there's still a lot of work to do, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you got to feel good about where you're at. Our producer, Alden Iwani, who's one of the best in the business, will get the bracket up, and we'll take a look at it. You're one of the #1 seeds there, and if we can take a look at that now, we'll go and see. You're going to play the winner of Santa Teresa, and there it is right there. Thank you to Alden Iwani. You've got yourself as the #1 seed. Las Lunas is the #2 seed. Roswell, the #3 seed. Artesia, the #4 seed. And you'll play the winner of Santa Teresa and Piedra Vista. You didn't play Santa Teresa. You just defeated Piedra Vista 33-9. Coach, can you see that bracket?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us what you think. Give us your synopsis of the 5A bracket.
Well, I mean, it looks, there's a lot of physicality on one side, Roswell. And, one thing that sticks out, though, is that there's a lot of potential rematches of that district championship game. And, they might feel a little bit different in the playoffs, but we already preached to our kids that playoffs is a brand new season. A team that you beat in the regular season may not be the same team, and they may have had an off night, and we may have had a great night that we might not duplicate. But it's a new season, and we've talked from day one. It's not always the best team that wins in the end. Sometimes being the #1 seed, it's harder. it's harder to go through the playoffs sometimes because some of those teams feel like they should be the number one and they're going to be hungry, and we have to stay just as hungry because I really believe that the hungrier teams get better at the fastest rate. And we find ways to make sure our kids are, we call it eating crumbs. Don't eat it's not time to eat the big meal yet. We're going to eat crumbs until it's time to get on the proving ground. But and that's what the playoffs is all about. So I mean, you look at the bracket and you see the names of consistently good programs, and none of them are going to lay over and let you beat them. So we know that this whole bracket's a dogfight, and that's exactly what we're going to get prepared for.
You mentioned hunger, and I think the key question to me, you're undefeated. You've got all the numbers. Kids are kids. They're going to feel good, right, about themselves. They ride through town. There's the Scorps. There's the Scorpions, right? People know who they are. And how do you keep that? Everybody's got a level of hunger, Coach, right? Everybody's got, and I think when that hunger stops, then we stop being successful at what we're trying to do. How do you keep that hunger going? Because again, look at the stats. 45.8 points we're scoring, right? Well, we're only allowing 4.5 points per game defensively. How do you keep that hunger going?
You watch film and you're critical. There's been times where we ended a game at halftime and the kids come in for film, and after they left, you gotta think they lost, because you got to coach them hard. You got to keep coaching them hard, and you got to find where they can get better. One of the hardest things to do in coaching and really in life is to find ways to improve after success. And I feel like we've done a good job at that. And because I think we've been improving at a high rate as well. I think we're a completely different team than we were week one. And it wasn't until week 5, dealing with quarantines and stuff, we didn't even have all of our starters on the field till about week 5. So it took a while for us to even get to the chemistry we wanted. And as far as we approach practice and film, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. Every coach will tell you that. And it's true, and we can find places to improve on every single play,
and that's the key, right? And you look around the bracket. Judge Chavez gets his Valley Vikings in against Goddard, Deming against Belen. But I got to talk about Artesian, and we'll get to your players, your roster. Artesia won 4 of their last 5. Jeremy Malpin, who's I just think the world of, a great coach, but a better guy. I interviewed him more than once, and the name Artesia, right? I remember Artesia played St. Pius in the championship in 15. And I remember going down in the field, and gosh, they just had this swag about them, like, what do you want? Just the way they went through the drills. They expect to win, right? They expected to win. And you've always got to keep an eye on their program, although, Los Lunas and your team have had better seasons than them. But, they always loom around the corner until and again, you would have to face them in a second round game, a third round, actually, if you did win. But I thought I'd mention a little bit about Artesia because the storied program that they run.
Yeah, they do a great job, and man, what a great community for football. You can just feel it when you drive into town on Friday night. You can feel the whole thing, and to tell you the truth, it's pretty great atmosphere here too. And I think one of the things is, I think a lot of coaches used to just talk a little bit too much about Artesia and Roswell and Mayfield. And it almost seems like the less we talk about their history, our kids don't know what's what most of the time. They live in Farmington, New Mexico, and they don't know what's going on outside of here. So we show them what's right in front of them. And with like, I go back to just watching film and stuff and seeing where we can get better, and try not to focus so much on who we're playing. And we've had to do that every week this year. If we focus on who we're playing, we're just going to play at that level, and we've got to play at a level that we haven't been before. But the kids are well aware of the history. You drive in there and they see the 29 or 30 state championships painted on the wall, and they get a little bit wide-eyed. But the one thing we tell our kids you can always fall back on is technique. When you start to get nervous, and when you start to think about things that don't really have anything to do with that game, just start thinking about your technique and focus and execute. And it might take a series or 2 to settle into that, but they always will if they've been coached on fundamentals at a high level, because that's same thing when you get tired. If you can just focus on your technique and your fundamentals, you're going to make the plays that you make every day in practice. And we're going to rely on that. And we think it'd be a great opportunity to get to go down to Artesia and play them. You know, it's a great stadium. It's part of New Mexico's history. And, you know, we would look forward to that opportunity.
Tell you what, that's a little bit down the line. I want to go over some statistics here for your quarterback, and you can tell us about your defense. Brandon Furby, 81 of 127, 300, 2 interceptions, 14 touchdowns, 127.9 quarterback rating. Julian Gomez, 43 carries, 260 yards, 8 touchdowns. Patrick Shea in receiving, 26 receptions, 569 yards, 21.9 yards per catch, 9 touchdowns, 71 yards a game. Ethan Thomas, 22 catches, 431 yards, 19.6 yards per catch, 61 yards a game, 3 TDs. Chase Carrillo, 22 of 371, 100 or 12.3 yards per catch, 4 touchdowns. Talk a little bit about, especially your quarterback. He's got an outstanding rating, and those things don't happen. He's only thrown 2 interceptions, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Talk a little about, and again, the guys on the line, the whole offensive unit.
Yeah, man. And then that's what it takes is a whole unit. And you know, I think one of the best things about Brandon Furby is he doesn't try to do more than we want him to. You know, he runs the offense, and it's designed to get everybody involved. And you kind of see from the stats that everyone gets involved almost equally, you know. And that's our definition of balance is let's spread the field out and get it to 6 or 7 different playmakers that just love to score. And once they taste that end zone, you know, they're going to fight for it a lot more. And he can kind of tell who's hot, and he's a general on the field. And I would venture to say one of the best things about him is he knows when he's in a bad situation and he can check out of it. And he's kind of learning to be a better play caller on the field, and that's just a huge asset to have when you know, sometimes you're a coach and you're like, dang it, this play's not going to work, and how do I change it? And he's starting to figure that stuff out. So, you know, he's kind of a next level guy as far as the mind goes and studying. And he knows when that, you know, maybe the best thing to do is throw a 3-yard route to a playmaker right now, and that's how the yards accumulate.
I'm going to ask you one question about him. We'll move on to your defense. Got just a couple of minutes. How much trust do you put in him as a senior quarterback to make that call at the line, the check down? How much trust you got him?
Oh, 100%. He's allowed to make a check at any time. We'll tell him at times, you know, that his gut feeling is probably more important than ours. He's got a better vantage point of the defense, and every quarterback does. So, you know, to be able to get to that point is a huge advantage. And, you know, Caleb Carrillo got the chance to spend some time with him this summer and talk to him about, you know, some of the defenses he saw last year. And those two became quick friends. And, you know, Carrillo likes to hang around and give him a little bit of advice here and there because he got to do it in this system for 3 years, and Brandon's only got to do it for 1. But I'll tell you what, for just running this system for 1 year, he sure picked it up and spent a lot of time in the off season figuring it out.
He's done a great job. Now, tell us about your defense. There wasn't as much information online about your defense, but again, 6 shutouts defensively. Tell us a little bit about your defense and your philosophy there. You being a former defensive coordinator, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, one reason I am a former defensive coordinator is because Coach Shuttleworth came in, and he was already here with us, and I was running a 4-3, and it just kind of things shifted in football up here to where all of a sudden we didn't have as many big kids. But we had a lot of little fast ones. So he kind of committed himself to working with Rocky Long over, you know, and Coach Howes when he first went on to UNM and got this 3-5-3 thing going. And gosh, he's done a great job with personnel. And you know what, we believe in putting athletes on defense. We want physical, little bit crazy, fast athletes on all 11 spots on defense. And speed's everything. Offenses are trying to beat defenses with speed. When all else fails, you try to run around the edge or you try to throw it. So you've got to be able to combat that with speed. And we take a lot of pride in that. I'm also the head track coach, and a lot of those kids, you know, they don't really have too much of a choice. We can't force them, but we strongly encourage that they run track, and they sure get a lot faster doing that. And we got a lot of multi-sport athletes on that defense that just love to compete and love to be athletes and love to win. And those kids are as competitive as a group as I've ever seen. And man, they love to get after it.
That's got to help. Coach Jeff Dalton, head coach of the top-ranked 5A Farmington Scorpions. We wish you all the luck in the state playoffs, and we appreciate you joining us today on Sports Desk.
Hey, thanks, Ed. We sure appreciate you guys and always enjoy your coverage of high school athletics.
Thank you so much. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.